Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tackling a really tough question. Why do so many startups fail? And maybe more importantly, how can you make sure yours isn't one of them? We've gone through all the postmortems and expert advice to basically create a map of the most common dangers out there.
Okay, let's kick things off with a number that might be a little sobering. According to a bunch of sources, like On Startups and the Startup Magazine, about 90% of all startups fail. Now, the point here isn't to scare you off. It's to show you just how critical it is to go into this with your eyes wide open.
So, where does it all go wrong? Well, research from CB Insights tells us something pretty incredible. The single biggest reason, at a whopping 42%, is a total lack of market need. I mean, think about that. People build something that nobody actually wants to buy. So, how can we map out these dangers to help you steer clear? We've broken all these common pitfalls down into 5 key danger zones. We're going to look at the foundation, the financials, the team, how you find customers, and then all the hidden hurdles. Think of this as your guide through the minefield. All right, first up, cracks in the foundation. These are the big strategic mistakes that can basically doom your startup before you even write a single line of code or sell a single product. You know, what's so interesting about all these points from places like Forbes and On Startups is that they all boil down to one central idea. You fail to validate your idea first. Founders just fall in love with their solution before they even confirm that a real painful problem actually exists for people. And that leads us right into this crucial concept, product market fit. This isn't just about having a cool product or a neat app. It's about having something that a very specific group of people desperately needs and, importantly, is willing to pay for. It's the difference between a nice-to-have and a must-have. And oh boy, is there a perfect cautionary tale for this. Let's talk about Klinkle. They had massive hype, massive buzz, and an absolutely stunning $30 million in seed funding. But they spent years building this super complex tech in secret without ever asking the simple question, does anyone actually want this? By the time they launched, it was too late. The market had moved on, and all that money was gone. Okay, next up is the financial minefield. Because even if you have a validated, great idea, this is the second biggest startup killer out there. A staggering 38% of startups fail for one simple reason. They just run out of cash. Now, here's a classic trap that Forbes points out. People get confused between revenue and cash flow. See, your company can have millions in sales on the books, which makes you look super profitable. But if your customers are paying you in 90 days, and you have to pay your employees and your rent today, you can run out of actual cash in the bank and go bankrupt. This overconfidence, it often leads to overspending. Founders plan their budgets based on the absolute best case scenario. The smart, disciplined way to do it is to plan for all three, the pessimistic, the realistic, and the optimistic. It helps you control your spending and make sure you have enough runway to survive any unexpected bumps in the road. So how do you avoid this? Well, it really all comes down to understanding your unit economics. Simply put, for every single customer, or unit, how much does it cost you to get them in the door? That's your CAC. And then, how much money are they worth to you over their entire time as a customer? That's your LTV. And this really is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? If the answer here is no, your business model is fundamentally broken. You're literally spending more money to get customers than they will ever pay you. It's like a leaky bucket, and no amount of funding in the world is going to fix it in the long run. Okay, so your idea is validated, your financials are sound, you're feeling good, but even then, the wrong people can sink the ship. And that brings us to mistakes in team building. Believe it or not, a dysfunctional team is the third leading cause of startup failure.
And one of the biggest mistakes, which a report by Shiny noted, is picking impressive resumes over cultural fit. Think about it. In a small, high-pressure startup, one brilliant but totally misaligned person can be toxic. They can destroy communication, slow everything down, and just crush morale. And don't think this is just some fuzzy, feel-good thing. We are talking about real money, a lot of real money. The late Zappos CEO Tony Hsieh famously estimated that his own bad hires, people who just didn't fit their customer-obsessed culture, had cost his company over $100 million. This usually happens when startups try to hire way too fast, especially right after they get a big check from investors. Sources from Deal to Forbes all point this out. There's this huge pressure to put the money to work. But when you hire reactively without clear roles or a real plan,
You just end up with wasted money, total confusion, and eventually damaging layoffs. So you've got a validated plan, you've got money in the bank, and you've got a fantastic team. But what if nobody knows you exist? This leads us to the marketing and sales minefield, where getting outcompeted is the fourth biggest reason startups fail. That whole "if you build it, they will come" thing, it's a dangerous myth. A deep dive by the Pandora Agency and others shows that so many entrepreneurs make the exact same marketing mistakes. They don't define a niche audience, they just talk about what their product does instead of what problem it solves, and they treat marketing like this chore that they'll get around to eventually, instead of a core part of the business from day one.
This quote here from M Accelerator, it just sums it up perfectly. A great product does not sell itself. Marketing isn't just about getting attention. It's about systematically connecting your solution to the exact people who need it the most.
All right, finally, let's talk about the hurdles that are, well, less glamorous, but they are just as deadly. You can totally ace your marketing, your financials, and your team, but these little issues hiding in the fine print, they can still derail everything. As detailed in places like Forbes and Deal, these things might seem kind of secondary, but the consequences are huge. Choosing the wrong legal structure can become a tax nightmare. Misclassifying employees can lead to massive fines. And not having a solid partnership agreement is just a recipe for disaster if you and your co-founders ever disagree. And maybe the biggest hidden hurdle of all is just being too rigid. So many founders treat their original business plan like it's some sacred text written in stone. But guess what? The market doesn't care about your plan. Survival isn't about having the perfect map from the start. It's about being willing to redraw that map based on what you learn. Look, navigating the startup minefield is incredibly difficult, but it is not impossible. It demands a relentless focus on solving a real problem, managing your cash like a hawk, and building a resilient team. A cool product with no clear path to making money is just an expensive hobby. So the final question is, which one are you building?